Good evening. I'm not going to try to compete with the commissioner on jokes. I'm Suzanne Reynolds. I am a law professor at Wake Forest Law School. And for all you lawyers in the room, you're getting nervous now. And maybe for others of you out in the room who have this stereotype of law professors. Because if I fit your stereotype, what I'm going to do now is start asking you questions, really hard questions. And I'm going to make you stand up, and I'm going to try to embarrass you when you're trying to answer them. That's what law professors do. But I'm not going to do that tonight. First of all, I'm going to thank Wayne Goodwin for inviting me tonight. Wayne was in on a little secret, a not very well kept secret. I haven't made a formal announcement, but I'm going to next week. On Tuesday, I'm going to announce that I'm running for the North Carolina Supreme Court. Thank you. Announced it publicly first right here in Richmond County. And I'm not going to now turn around and make you stand up and ask you embarrassing questions. What I'm going to do is try to tell you why I'm running for the North Carolina Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, it is the highest court in the state. It is usually the court that has the last word on what the law of North Carolina is. It is the court that should decide the cases rightly. It should explain what the law is so that lawyers across the state understand what the law is, and ultimately so the people of this state understand what the law is. And that's the work of law professors. That's what law professors do. They explain the law and then they write about the law. It is what I've been doing all of my professional career. In fact, the work that I'm proudest of in my professional life, the work I'm proudest of, is writing a 3-volume treatise on North Carolina family law, Lee's North Carolina Family Law by Suzanne Reynolds. I'm very proud that that work has become the authority on North Carolina family law. It's consulted by lawyers, it's consulted by judges all across the state. And I think we can all agree that there is no law more important than family law. It is the law of marriage. It's the law of divorce. It's the law of property division, child support, family support, custody, adoption, child abuse and neglect. It's so important that we get this law right. And right now, there's no one on the North Carolina Supreme Court who has this expertise. And I want to bring this expertise to the North Carolina Supreme Court. There's another reason why I'm running, and it's because of my sense of service. I learned my sense of service long before I became a law professor. I learned my sense of service from my father, Chuck Reynolds. My dad's story is the best of what America has to offer. My dad, Chuck Reynolds, grew up on a farm in Iredell County. It was during the Depression, times were hard. My dad decided that the only way he could go to college was to play football. There were 2 problems with this. He grew up in Scotts, North Carolina. They didn't have a football team. And Dad had never seen a game of football. But he had a pretty good ego, and he's a really good athlete. He decided, I'll hitchhike to Reidsville, North Carolina. He heard that Reidsville had a good football team. He thought, well, I'll be good at this. I'll go to Reidsville, I'll play football, I'll get a scholarship, and I'll go to college. And that's exactly what he did. He hitchhiked to Reidsville. He got a job in a service station and lived above the service station. Sure enough, he played football. He was great at it. He earned a scholarship to Clemson, and played on the first Frank Howard football team. And then as World War II was approaching, Dad decided that he had to leave Clemson. He decided he'd enlist in the Navy, and he'd go get his training at Pensacola and become a Navy fighter pilot. That's what he did. Pretty soon he was off in the South Pacific flying Navy Hellcats off aircraft carriers. He was shot down in the South Pacific, an island off the coast of Japan. He refused to stay on the Navy hospital ship. He got back in the cockpit. He flew, before the war was over, he flew 80 missions in combat and in aerial photography. After the war was over, Dad went to Davidson County, became a manager of Coble Dairy there in Lexington, North Carolina, and he became an officer in the Davidson County Democratic Party. My dad loved the Democratic Party, and he taught me two things. He taught that we have an obligation to help other people, and that it's a privilege to do that. That's why he loved the Democratic Party. He thought that was the party reflected those principles. We have an obligation to help other people, and it's a privilege to do it. I thank you, good Democrats, for reflecting those principles of obligation to other people and feeling the privilege of doing that. I am honored to be a part of this process, and I look for your support next November. Thank you very much.